Hello, my name is Chad Mays. I am the director of the Lync8 project and also the Asbury University women's basketball coach in Wilmore, Kentucky. Um, right now I'm sitting here in lovely Puerto Rico. I'm in Aguada, Puerto Rico, which is in the western side. We're currently serving as missionaries in the summertime. So right now we're doing pretty good. We have a team here, and actually it's my basketball team from the States is here right now. So this is a pretty awesome time to be serving right now with a team. And I had a little bit of downtime, and Zach asked me if I would just share my testimony with everybody. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity to do this. I have a pretty unique. Kind of almost like a Saul to Paul transformation. So he's heard it before, and he asked me if I would mind to share it, and so I said, yeah, I would love to. Because most people that know me and grew up with me would probably would never have thought that I would be serving as a basketball coach, a college basketball coach. First and foremost, and then on top of that, they never would have thought I would be a missionary serving in Latin America. But that just goes to show you what God can do. So, like a lot of people growing up, especially in the Bible Belt, being in Kentucky, I was baptized at a young age, and my mom would take me to church. My dad was out on the road. He was in construction, so he wouldn't be home quite a bit. But my mom would always take me to the church every time the doors opened. And so, and then my grandmother, it was the classic. She actually worked in the church, and then my grandfather would go, and so it was pretty cool. I was always there. But I can always say that I actually shared this last night with the team, that I really never had a relationship. I was always, my relationship with Jesus was the relationship that my mom had and that my grandparents had. I can't really say that my dad had much of a relationship. He was a believer, but he didn't really have much of a relationship either. But on the outside, most everybody thought just because you got baptized, it made you good. You say your prayer and you were good to go. Then as I went through high school and into college, I just did kind of whatever I wanted to do. I was out, in college life, partying, doing whatever I wanted to do. And because I thought I was, good, I'd said the prayer and I'd been baptized and was doing. And I thought I was, I checked that box and was good, not really having an understanding. And unfortunately, that's what, in the world we hear that and see that quite often, especially with my wife, Chandy, who we do missions together here. And we see that, more often than not. But so I was kind of going through that. I was married, and got married at a young age with to my ex-wife, and we had 2 kids. And we were always, every time something got difficult, we would run off to church, and we would try to have get that Jesus fix and make sure that He would always work everything out. But then it came to a point where there was no fixing it. And then we separated, and then ended up getting divorced. And then I had the 2 kids, and then so we had the joint custody back and forth, and actually ended on good terms. We just were married young, and to this day, she and I and Chandy, my wife now, we all have a great relationship, and it's and people are able to see how Jesus can actually mend broken families, and our kids see that. Chandy and I have 3, and Kelly and I have 2, and all 5 kids get along, great. And so it's spectacular that we're able to do all that. But it was in that time between my divorce and meeting Chandy, where ultimately I met Jesus, the real Jesus. Because people always say, well, you're back. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't really have that relationship. But I remember it was in that time that, I was drinking. I was, just not being the person that I needed to be. I remember just, you know, um, trying to find everything I could to fill that what people talk about all the time, that God-sized hole in your heart. And then I remember would put the kids to bed at nighttime, and then I would need just a little bit of alcohol to help me go to sleep at night. And I remember specifically one night just saying, okay, God, if you're really real, you need to show yourself. You need to show yourself to me. And just as real as I'm sitting here talking to you right now, in the course of, there was no audible voice or anything like that, but I remember over the next few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I remember there being, some sort of transformation in me, to where my friends that I was hanging out with, they even noticed, they were saying, your speech is different. You don't talk like you did. The words. There's no cuss words. There's no. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to do those kind of things. And it wasn't like I was intentionally trying to do it. It was just naturally happening. And then one of the wildest things is at the church we had been attending. There was a youth pastor there, and he was always in our neighborhood, and he was a great man, and he would always see us, and he would wave to me, and for whatever reason, I would always flip him off. And I know that sounds terrible, but I would actually flip him off as I would drive by. And this was the youth pastor of the church that I would attend every time that I needed a God fix to try to straighten my life out. And I mean, how crazy is that? I mean, that just sounds terrible. Every time I even think about it now, I just kind of just scratch my head and just think, what kind of an idiot would do that? Here's a man who's trying to be nice to me, and then I would act that way, and then when I needed help, I would run to that church. But I remember me and a buddy of mine, we were at the gym, and we just happened to be there. I wasn't doing anything. I was going down with a buddy of mine, and we go down the steps, and we're down there, and then here comes that youth pastor. He comes walking up to me, and I really didn't think anything about it. He walked up to me, and he knew that I was coaching at the local high school as a paraprofessional basketball coach. And he walked up to me and he said, "Hey Chad, would you be interested in helping with our youth?" And I thought to myself, have you lost your mind? Have you gone crazy? I'm the guy who flips you off every time I drive by you. And if you stood around me at any given time over the last 6 months to a year, you've heard my language. And the only thing you have to do is ask anybody in the city, and they knew, they knew my background. I had just gone through a divorce. I mean, I was a train wreck. And so I told him all that. And he just laughed, and he was like, "No, you sound like you'd be perfect for the job." And he said, "I'm not asking you to be a preacher. I'm asking you to come and help with our youth. And then if you come and help, because you know all the kids from being at the high school, maybe while you're there, you'll actually bump into Jesus yourself, and you'll stop running from him." And I remember that just hitting me just like a ton of bricks. And I was like, "Well, I don't know." And he said, "Well, do me a favor. Are you somebody who prays?" And I was like, "Well, I just said a prayer not too long ago." And he was like, "Well, why don't you just try to pray about this and see?" So I remember saying, okay, I would. I promised him I would. And then but to be honest with you, I thought I could actually kind of hide from him, because this was just a happen chance. But as God would have it, I literally bumped into this guy. It seemed like every time I would turn around, and he would look at me and say, "Have you prayed about it? Have you prayed about it?" So I actually had to. I prayed about it. And then in doing so, I felt like I really needed to help him. So when I did, I said, okay, yeah, I'll come and see what this is all about. And I came, and I remember sitting in the back of the church, just, and there was all these kids. We're a small town of about, I don't know, 10 or 12,000 people. But I remember being in this church, and there being like 125 high school kids just at this one church. And I didn't know that this was going on. And that was, like I said, this was a church that I attended just part-time. And then he was like, well, that's nothing. Come on the other night, and if you see that, there's like 100 more, like middle school and younger high school kids. So I came back, so there's like 200 kids, and they're just having, and I knew most of them from being, a basketball coach, and it was just crazy. And I just saw how much they loved Jesus, and they'd come up and they'd talk to me, and before you know it, I started bringing my kids, because, I thought, well, if I lead myself, and I end up doing something that ends up costing me, that's on me. But I didn't want to lead my kids down a wrong path. So, and my kids were super excited, and they were stoked, and they were just, they were very, all these high school and middle school kids were so receptive of, elementary school kids being there. And so we did. We just kept going week after week. And before you know it, it just kept kind of leading me into a leadership role. And to be honest with you, I don't even know when the whole transformation really just started. And then before you know it, I was actually a leader there. My life just flipped. And before you know it, they asked me to go on a mission trip. So I went on a 2-week mission trip to Los Angeles. And being out there with CIY, Christ in Youth, went out there for 2 weeks. And it was a phenomenal, just a phenomenal time. And we were out there. We worked with these local churches, and we went up and down the area working. And then from there, I had an opportunity to take my very first foreign mission trip, to take kids on a foreign mission trip. And we went to the Dominican Republic with a group called Young Life. And when we did, I remember being at the Young Life camp called Pico Escondido in Jarabacoa, the Dominican Republic. And I remember being there about halfway through the trip. We had quiet time, and I was out just standing on the side of a mountain and just looking off. And just, it was quiet, and it was kind of like that whole prayer time where I just said, God, if you're real, show yourself. And I remember no longer wondering if God was real, but I did remember saying, God, show yourself to me again. And just said, and I remember saying, God, if this is what you want me to do for the rest of my life, in some form or fashion, some capacity, I'll do it. I'll do it. And at that point, I remember just instinctively knowing this is what I'm going to do. It's some way, form or fashion, I'll be doing this with the rest of my life. Because I'm just one of these people. I want to live out my life out on the edge. I don't want. I'll soon be 53, and I just don't want to be someone who just kind of fades away at home. I want to be out living my life on the edge, because I believe that's what we're called to be. It was shortly thereafter I met my now wife, Chandy, who is, my best friend. And I remember telling her right out on our very first date, saying, that we can just talk about this straight up front. That one day I'll be giving my life away to missions. And I remember her saying, "That's great. That's what I want to do." And this was on our very first date. And immediately I knew, I'm going to marry this woman. And I didn't know if she wanted to marry me, but I knew right then I would definitely wanted to marry her. And then, lo and behold, it was a few years into our marriage, she started helping us lead trips. And then she actually is the one who just said, God is putting it on our hearts that we're supposed to be in Puerto Rico. So we moved here full time, and we've been working with college kids. And they impact us greatly, and now we go back and forth between the United States and here. Like I said, I'm the head women's basketball coach at Asbury University, and Asbury's does a fantastic job of letting me being able to be the mission liaison kind of coordinator for our student athletes, and bring student athletes here, and we bring other student athletes and other students and high school students from all around the United States. And it's just been, I just go back to that night being on my knees, just saying, God, if you're real. And then now, as you look over my shoulder and just see every day, we see God's face, either with the students that we're working with, or in the beauty like that you see here, and just thank Him each and every day. And I don't know. I mean, I never would have ever thought I would have had these opportunities. And I mean, my life is, I tell people all the time that my worst day now, or my best day now, is better than my worst day back then, because I don't have any bad days anymore. And that's solely because, that I have Jesus in my life. The real and true Jesus, the one that lets me live out, an adventure with Him. These adventures are no longer my adventures. They're His adventures that He takes me on. So thank you all for listening, and thank you all for letting me be a part of this. And love you, Zach. Thank you for letting me come on here and share my testimony. Talk to you all soon.